Hi everybody, it's Brad, and it is Masterworks 3 Club time again. This month we're going to do fun with Truetype fonts. So these are computer fonts. They're not fonts that are built into the software, the Masterworks 3 software. We're going to be using fonts that are available to be downloaded for free over the internet. Also, your computer came pre-installed with some of these fonts. So you'll have some to choose from without even downloading anything over the internet. But the fun thing about Truetype fonts is that they can be imported into the software as just a simple outline with no stitch information. So we can then apply whatever stitch types we want to them, and therefore define what type of design we're going to create. So you can do a lot of fun things. You can make really large letters with Truetype fonts. You can do like a satin stitch fill for your Truetype fonts, just like you would have with the fonts that come with the software. You can turn them into appliques. You can do all kinds of neat stuff with them. So, well, the first thing that we're going to do is go and learn how to go about finding some new fonts that you can use. And there's a website that I use. There's other websites out there, but there's one that I tend to use, and if you've watched some of the other videos on my channel, you've probably seen me talk about this. Dafont.com, D-A-F-O-N-T.com, is a great resource for fonts that you can get for personal use. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a web browser, and I already have my web browser at this website, but it's right up here. You just type in www.dafont.com and go to this site. And so what's great about this site is it's broken up into categories here. So if you look under fancy, we've got cartoon, comic, groovy, old school, curly, western. All of these are categories. So let's look at the first category here, cartoon. I'm going to left click on this, and it's going to give me a list of these different fonts. And so what it has is all these different fonts I can download, and I can use them, not just in my embroidery software, but these will, once I install them, they'll be on my computer. I'd be able to use them in Photoshop or in Illustrator or any other program that you might have, Microsoft Word, whatever. These are going to be fonts that are on your computer, and it just so happens that our software actually is able to read these lines, and we can turn them into embroidery. So as you see, I'm just paging through here. We've got, this is a Super Mario font. This is the Yahoo font from the Yahoo website. So there's tons and tons of these. If you look down here, I'm on page 2 of 67 in just this one section alone. So there's, as you can see, thousands of fonts to choose from in here. Now, there's going to be certain things that we're going to look for fonts that are going to work particularly well for our purposes, and that's going to be fonts that are like this, like big, thick lines are good. I mean, thin lines are okay too, but what you don't want to see is shading and a lot of detail on the inside of it. A font like this one, PW Yummy Donuts here, this is not going to turn into very good digitized artwork very easily. So you want stuff that looks pretty solid, that doesn't have a whole lot of crazy shading in it, like this one here where the black parts are shaded like this. That's not going to work real well without a lot of work. But this one here, Grinched, from The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, it looks like it's like a kind of Dr. Seuss looking font, would work great. So one of the things that I like about this website, aside from just the fact that it's a wonderful resource for fonts, is you can actually preview what the word that you want to say is going to look like in all these different fonts. So right now, by default, it's just showing the name of the font. So like this font's name is Mini, and in Mini, the font, it is displaying the name of the font here. But I can actually go up here under Preview, where it says type your text here. I can type in what I want it to say. Type in Sovac. And when you hit enter, it's actually previewing all these fonts using the word that I chose. Okay, so that can be really helpful if you're just trying to figure out exactly what font you want to use for a project. You can type in the word you want to say and see which one you think looks the best. See? So so let's see. Right now I'm in cartoon. We can go down one to comic, and it remembers the word that I wanted. So it still has my word meadow in here. Now, this is like a Spider-Man font. That's really cool. So here you can see the uppercase letters are solid and the lowercase letters are outlines. That's pretty neat. So when I find one that I want, so like say I want this one, what is this called? A Vengeance Mightiest Avenger. That's pretty silly, but this is the one we'll choose, just at random here. When you find the one that you want to download, all you have to do is go over and left click on where it says download. And if you look above that, it says right here that these fonts are free for personal use. That means you can download these and use it for your personal use without, making money, not like as a business. You can use these without any issue whatsoever. You're allowed to. Most of these fonts, if you want to use them commercially, there's like a $5 donation or something that they want for you, but it'll say that in a little file that comes with the font if you want to use it for a business. But anyway, for most of what we're doing here is for personal use stuff. So anyway, we click on download, and what it's going to have is it's going to be a zip file. So you have to be able to unzip files, but your computer, if you got Windows 7 or above, is going to automatically be able to unzip things. So what I like to do is tell it to open the file rather than save it, and I'll just hit OK. And it opens up I've got WinRAR installed here, but if you don't have WinRAR, it'll actually open it in your whatever zip file or whatever zip program you have. So I am going to now pick, there's either going to be one or two fonts. You're going to pick the one that's just the name of the font .ttf and just double click that. And here it shows me a preview of what the font looks like. These are all the characters that are digitized for it. And then you just left click on install. And it will install them. That's it. I've got this font installed now. I can close my unzip program. And I'm just going to go, let's see, we'll open up Masterworks. And let's find our font. So you go under the artwork tab here and hit the little fly out. We're going to bypass all the lines and the shapes and look all the way down the bottom. Import TTF. TTF always stands for Truetype font on a computer. So import TTF artwork. We're going to left click on that, and then I choose select, and it was Avenger something, so I'm looking AV. Here we go, A Vengeance Mightiest Avenger. Click OK, and then I can go ahead and type in what I want it to say, and here is my artwork. Okay, so it's just brought in these letters. I just downloaded this font over the internet, and now I've brought it in, and I've got these shapes, which are my letters. They're not digitized, it's not stitches, so now I can choose what type of stitch to apply to this. But before we do, I'm going to go back and show you a couple more things on the DaFont website here. But that's the process for installing these fonts. It's really easy. Alright, so I'm going to go back to the website here. So the other thing that we have in this are what are called dingbats. Now we've got all these other fonts. I mean, these all work the same way that I just showed you, where it's just like these are all typewriter style fonts. These are all foreign look fonts. Okay, so I mean they all work the same way. But what is different are these dingbats here. Okay, and what these are actually fonts that are all pictures. So if I go in here and I pick one of these is kids. Here we go, kids. Like here's one that's all Hello Kitty. Here's one that's like little books and school supplies and stuff like that. And I actually have this Mellow Fonts one that's the Hello Kitty. But so when you download and install these, because the letters are all mapped to pictures instead of letters, you're not going to know what letter is going to make what picture come up. So there's a little map that you can get. If you click on the name of the font, this little map is going to show me what character is going to come up when I press a letter. So you can actually print this out and have it for any of these fonts that you get. And these are great for a lot of different things. You can use them and create appliques with them and all kinds of neat stuff. We'll play with some of these later too, and I'll show you some of the things you can do with them. But these, it's a little tricky to figure out what letter means what unless you know that you can click on the name and it shows you this little map here. So if I go in and I want to get this character, I know that I have to use an uppercase K to get this. So if I go back to my my program here and go to import TTF artwork, this time I'll choose a font named Mellow Fonts, and it's going to display it in symbols. So I have to know that these symbols mean Mellow Fonts up here. But so I choose this. I know that if I want to get that character I wanted, I would have to choose an uppercase K and hit OK, and there is my Hello Kitty. Okay, so here I've got Hello Kitty, and I could easily go and turn this into stitches just like that. Okay, now that looks a mess, and there's a lot of other stuff that we'd have to do to make this not look a mess, but it is something that is available for us as a way to get shapes in here. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. All right, so here's we've got my word meadow brought in. So there are several different things, like I said, that we can do with letters once we've brought them in. The simplest, easiest way to turn these into stitches is simply to apply a standard fill to these letters. And what that's going to give me is a stitch. If I go and hit apply stitches and choose standard fill, it will just fill them in with a fill stitch. It's going to be flat but legible writing, and these can scale as large as I want them, meaning I could make these letters as big as I want, period. I mean, these are able to be made however tall you want them to be without any restrictions, unlike when you bring in a font in the normal way through the program when we go to the text tool up here, where you're limited in size. Because this is a fill stitch and not a satin stitch, we can make these any size. Okay, so that's pretty sweet. But maybe that's not what I want to do. I want to do something else with these. So I'm going to undo that, and we're back to just artwork. So another cool thing that I could do with these is actually hand digitize them to be letters as if I had brought them in with the text tool. And you can do that by using a couple of different tools. The first one, the easy way, the cheater's way, is to select your first letter, go up to apply stitches, and choose auto column, which is, okay, so this is under the column stitches. We choose auto, and it will automatically put my inclinations in. But as you can see, it did not work all that well. See how crazy and broken up my stitches are? Some fonts this will work for, some fonts it won't. Some letters it'll work for, some letters it won't. So let's see if it does the E. It really didn't do a very good job on the E either. So let's undo both of those. Really skinny fonts are what that really works best for. So basically, I would need to go in and apply the inclinations myself to this. You may remember from last week, we did this when we did the Baby Lock logo. Not last week, last month. We did the Baby Lock logo using a column stitch. And the same things that we did there would apply here, where we go in, choose apply stitches, normal column, and we can go in and bring in our stitch directions. And I'm actually choosing what direction my stitches are going to lay this whole time. And there I've got my capital letter M, and you see the stitches going like this. Okay, that's how you would digitize that with the column tool. Now this E here, we actually have some branching, meaning the stitch direction kind of goes, it splits off. Like one stitch direction needs to be going this way, and this stitch direction needs to be going this way. So we actually have to use our slice tool to slice this piece up. So we could do that by going up to Reform here and using Slice. We can actually left click where we want to cut the E off. See how I've cut this part of the E off of there? This would be the same thing as if we had just traced this part first and then this part. It's just they're already traced, so to speak, because we already have the artwork in there. We just needed to cut it up. So that's what your slice tool is underneath your Reform. You have to have something selected, and then you can get to slice. And so what I did was I just used that to slice off this little branch of the E. Now I can go and apply my column stitch here. And remember, a column stitch, you're picking the stitch direction the whole way. So this, left click on one side and drag it down to the other side. Drag it down, drag it over, drag it up. And that's going to create this part of my E. And then I want to do the next part. Apply stitches, column, and I really only need one stitch direction here. And we've digitized the E. Now you may look at this and actually think, you know what, I would rather have this part sew out first so that it's not on top of my other stitching. So I can go over to my sequence view and just click and drag one on top of the other and see now how that layers properly here. And so on and so forth throughout the design, we'd be able to do this. I can go in and do my A. Again, we have branching, meaning the stitch direction can't be going two ways at once here, so I have to cut out the arch, or the, I don't know what they call this thing that goes across in a letter like this, like an H has one too. I think there's a name for that. No idea what it is though. So we go in and use the reform tool and slice. Click and click where we want the cut to be, so it just cut right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of it. Reform, slice, and I'm just going to click this dot and this dot, right click. Now I've got this as a separate piece, see? So I can digitize them separately, and I just go ahead and apply a column to this part, and we'll go ahead and apply a column to the outer part. Choose my stitch directions. Let's see how that turns out. Not too bad. Okay, so I just hand digitized these letters, but I didn't have to trace them. See, that's the key, is that you don't have to do the original tracing. All you have to do is apply the stitches to these letters. Now this one doesn't have any branching, the D, so I could do this as one piece. But with a D, it's a good idea to actually have this the slice here and here, because it'll kind of make the D have like a more solid straight line here, like somebody took a stroke down and then curved over to make that. So it's kind of a stylistic thing, whether you want to have it that way or not. I would probably do it though, so let's go ahead and see if I can't get this part sliced. Yes, and the bottom, reform, slice, here to here. That's going to cut this into two pieces, which I can then digitize separately. And this side. Just like that. See how it's got a stroke down in there? Now the O I definitely don't need to slice anything for, of course. We'll just do, whenever you're doing a circle, 1, 2, 3, 4 points on a compass. That's all you got to do to make a circle with a column tool. Okay, and then the W is just like my M. This can also be done with a single column without having to slice it. Let's see if I can get away with that. Nope, this is too wide, and that's because of the way that I put my inclinations. I didn't put any in here or here. So when that happens, when it gives you that warning that you created satin stitches that are too long, that means you must not have done something right in here. So we'll go back and add some more columns to it. Oh, you know what? That's not how you do that. You have to go to reform and add inclination. Once you've already turned it into a column, the only way to add more inclinations in is to go to reform. You have to have it selected. Go to reform, add inclination, and now I can add some more in here. Let's see if that did it. Yep, no warning. That's going to work. Okay, so I've just created this lettering, digitized it by hand, but didn't have to trace it by hand. Okay, so I told it where I want the stitches to be the whole time, but I didn't have to go in and trace off of something to get these. Okay, so that's the hard way to do it, but it's also the more professional way to create your own fonts. And here you are going to be limited in how tall you can make it, but you don't get a set thing that tells you how big it can be like you get with the text tool. Like if I go in and use the text tool here, I can see with this little question mark button here what my minimum and maximum height is. Okay, for satin. Minimum is 0.2, maximum is 0.98. You don't get that when you do it yourself. But a lot of times if somebody brings you something to digitize, you may not have exactly the font that they're using, and you may be able to get that font or something really close to it using the Truetype font, using like that DaFont website or some other website like that. And then you can digitize those letters by hand. Alright, so that wasn't very fun, sitting there digitizing those letters by hand. So let's find something more fun to do with these Truetype fonts. How about we make custom appliques with letters from here. It's super, super easy. All we have to do is go in and here, I'll delete my word that I've got there, and I'm going to go back to import TTF artwork. We'll pick a different font here too. Let's see, there's one that I got that I really like called Keep On Truckin'. And you know what, if you've got a bajillion fonts like I have, you can actually search by right here where it says font, instead of just scrolling up and down. If you start typing, see, I just typed in the word keep, and Keep On Truckin' popped right up. Okay, so if you know the name of the font you want, you can just start typing it in and it comes in. Alright, then we're going to say OK, and I'm going to do a capital letter M and hit OK. So here I've got my capital letter M, and I want this to be fairly big. So say I want to make like a really, really big applique letter M, and I want it to be in my big Elissimo hoop, say. That's 200 by 300. So I could go up to the hoop up here and choose Select Hoop. And I'll do, I'm on multi-needle. Make sure I'm not on multi-needle. 200 by 300 is the Elissimo. Say OK. So there's my big hoop. And I can take this and make it as big as I want, as long as it fits in there. And all this is really, I'll turn off the fill here in the property so you can see, really all this is just this outline. So what I can do here is apply and choose applique, and it's going to automatically make my applique for this. So I can go ahead, and what it does is it's going to put in a straight stitch. Okay, and then the machine would stop. You put your fabric down on top of this, and then it goes and tacks it down with a running stitch. And then you would take your scissors and trim along the outside edge, and then it would go and sew down the finishing satin stitch along the outside of that. Pretty cool, and you can do that with any font pretty much. You know, again with the caveat that you don't want to do one of the ones that's got shading and stuff like that, but you can do all kinds of neat fonts with this and make custom applique letters for all types of occasions. So that's pretty fun. Another fun thing we can do with Truetype fonts is the towel embossing technique. Now I know I've done towel embossing ad infinitum in various classes that I've done, but it's worth repeating here for anybody that's not done it before. Super easy technique, and it uses Truetype fonts. So let's see. First thing I'm going to do is actually rotate my hoop. I'm going to change it from going straight up and down to going across. So I go up to hoop and choose rotate 90. It'll actually rotate my hoop 90 degrees. So I'm looking sideways in the hoop now, basically. And I'm going to draw a box. So I go to Artwork, Rectangle, and click and drag. And I'm going to make it just about as big as my hoop. Not quite, but almost. Okay. And then you're going to go in and select a font, a Truetype font, by going to Artwork, Import TTF Artwork. I'm going to keep with this Keep On Truckin' font because I like it. And also it works well for this. Just type in what you want it to say and hit OK. It's going to bring in some letters. And you take your letters and you're going to size them so that they're just about filling your block. And I like to go and size my rectangle down a little bit so that it matches, so that my rectangle is not too big. Okay, and once you've got your outline and your lettering in, you need to select everything by choosing all items up here at the top, and then you right click somewhere on one of your letters and choose combine. And what that just did is it made one area that has the rest of this stuff cut out of it. And now we just go up and we're going to apply a different type of stitch to this. We're going to apply what's called a motif fill. So we go down to fill and choose motif. And it goes and fills my area in here. So this would actually work. If I sewed this out, this would work right now. It's going to tack down the nap of the towel back here and let it pop up through the letters, giving a really nice embossed effect. But what we're going to do is actually change this pattern, because this particular pattern, if you look at our stitch count, 79,000. Ooh, woof, that's a lot of stitches. So we're going to change this pattern. The one I like to use is FO61. You can use whatever one you want, though. We're going to hit apply. And there we go. Now we've got my letters. You can kind of ignore these jumps. They won't be there. Your machine will cut those automatically for you. And yeah, we can sew this out on a towel. Basically, so to sew this out, you would use a water-soluble stabilizer on the back and no topper. Remember, the topper is there to keep the stitches from sinking down into the nap, and that's what we want to happen. We want to have the towel popping up through these little holes in there. So that's a fun little project that anybody can do, and it makes really good gifts for people. People are always like, "Oh, how did you do that?" It's amazing. So that's a fun little project. Okay, so that is yeah, that's fun with Truetype fonts. So we're gonna do another project too. So that's the end of this particular video. We're gonna do something fun again for the second part of Masterworks 3 Club. Hope you enjoyed this video detailing Truetype fonts. They're a lot of fun. They're easy to work with. They're easy to get more of. So see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.